The rooftop wedding venue sat 40 floors above the city, all glass railings and string lights bleeding gold into the purple dusk. 60 guests in designer silence watched a string trio play something soft and French. The skyline behind them looked like a screensaver nobody deserved. Zane Carter stood at the altar in a slate-gray Armani suit, the jacket tailored so precisely it looked like it was made from his spine outward. White shirt, no tie, top button undone like he was allergic to anything that felt like a leash. His watch cost more than some cars. His face gave away nothing. That was on purpose. He was the kind of man who built things. Tech infrastructure. Algorithms. Walls. Then the elevator dinged. Everyone turned. She walked out like she had no idea she was late, or maybe like she was daring someone to say something about it. Her dress was deep burgundy, a slip style that hit mid-thigh, slightly wrinkled at the hem like she had been sitting on a train for 2 hours. Black ankle boots, scuffed at the toe. A small silver ring on her right thumb. Her dark brown hair was half up, half falling out of a clip that had clearly given up. She was holding a bouquet of white peonies so tight her knuckles were pale. Her eyes swept the room, apologetic and fierce at the same time, and then they landed on Zane. He had not blinked in 4 seconds. Her eyes were this impossible shade of honey brown. They held his for 1 beat too long and then she mouthed, "My bad," and slipped into the bridesmaid row like she belonged there, which, apparently, she did. Zane exhaled slow. His best friend Marcus, the groom, leaned over and whispered, "You good?" "Yeah," Zane said. He was lying. He watched her for the entire ceremony. Not obviously. Not creepy. Just the way you watch a fire when you are cold and trying to act like you are not. She cried during the vows. Quietly. She pressed the back of her hand to her mouth and looked at the sky like she was asking it to hold something for her. After, when the dancing started and the champagne came out in tall flutes that caught the light like little torches, Zane found her alone at the edge of the rooftop, back against the glass railing, staring at the city below. She had taken off one boot and was holding it in her hand for reasons she apparently did not feel like explaining to anyone. He walked over anyway. "That entrance had energy," he said. She looked up. Up close, she was even more disarming. Sharp cheekbones. A small scar at the corner of her jaw, thin and silver, old. Her mascara had smudged slightly from the crying. She had not fixed it and that somehow made everything worse. "My bike broke down. I hitched a ride with a guy selling handmade furniture out of a van." She paused. He was very chill about it, actually. That is either brave or unhinged. Both, probably. She shrugged. "I'm Nova. Zane." Something moved across her face. Quick. A flicker, like a light being covered by a passing hand. "I know who you are," she said. "Should I be worried about that?" She studied him with this calm, unreadable energy. "Forbes called you the most calculated mind in Silicon Valley. I prefer focused. People who are actually focused don't need to rebrand it." She tilted her head. "Is Maya your real friend or just the friend you keep around because it looks good?" The words should have been rude. They were not. They were just honest, and Zane had been surrounded by dishonesty for so long that honesty felt like a cold window on a hot day. "She is the realest person I know," he said quietly. Nova looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded, like he had passed a test he did not know he was taking. "Then you should be happy for her," she said. "Not analyzing the room." "I stopped analyzing the room when you walked in." The city glittered below them. The music from inside drifted out warm and slow. Nova looked away first, and Zane noticed the way her jaw tightened, like she was locking something back behind her teeth. "You should stay away from me," she said. The words were gentle. They were also very serious. "Why?" he asked. She looked at him one more time. Then her phone lit up in her hand, screen side up, and even from where he was standing Zayn could see that the message had no name attached to it. Just 4 words. "We see you, Nova." The color drained out of her face. "I have to go," she said. "Wait." But she was already moving, slipping back through the glass doors into the crowd, and all Zayn had left was the ghost of her voice and the feeling that something enormous had just walked into his life wearing scuffed black boots and carrying wilting peonies. He stood there for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and typed her name. The search result loaded slow, like even the algorithm was hesitating. Nova Reyes. Age 26. The photo was from a courthouse. She was in a white button-down, hair back, eyes straight ahead. She looked nothing like the girl who cried at vows and held her shoes at rooftop parties. She looked like someone who had decided to stop being afraid, which is different from actually not being afraid. The headline sat under the photo like a stone dropped in still water. Star witness in federal corruption trial disappears from protective custody. Then below that, in smaller font, Nova Reyes testified against Helion Group executives in billion-dollar money laundering case. 3 jurors later intimidated. 2 witnesses withdrawn. Reyes last seen in Portland, Oregon, 6 months ago. Zayn read it 3 times. Then he ran. He found her 2 streets away from the venue, sitting on a concrete planter outside a closed flower shop, boots back on, the burgundy dress a slash of color against gray city walls. She had her arms wrapped around herself even though the night was warm. She looked up when she heard him coming. She did not look surprised. "You actually looked me up," she said. "You told me to. I told you what would happen if you did." She stood up. "You were supposed to run the other way. I run companies, not from people." He stopped in front of her. "Talk to me." "No." She stepped to the side. He stepped with her, not blocking, just present. "Nova. Do not say my name like you know me. Then help me." She stopped moving. The street was quiet. A cab rolled through a distant intersection, red light catching. She stared at the pavement for a long moment, and when she finally looked up her eyes were glassy and furious. Helion Group owns 4 senators, 2 judges, and a private security firm that has been following me since I stepped off a bus in this city 4 days ago. Her voice was flat. Practiced. Like she had said it in her head 1,000 times to keep it from breaking out loud. "I came here for Maya. She has 6 months left, maybe. Pancreatic cancer. She asked me to come because I am the only person from her old life she trusts and I could not say no to that." Zayn went very still. "Maya," he said. "Maya knows you? We were roommates in college. Before everything." Nova pressed her fingers to her mouth briefly. "She does not know what happened. No one at that wedding knows who I actually am. To them I am just Maya's mysterious friend who showed up late and looked slightly feral." "You looked incredible," Zayn said. She blinked. "That is a weird thing to say right now." "I know. Ignore it." He cleared his throat. "What did the text say?" "The one you got on the roof." She turned her phone screen toward him. "We see you, Nova." Below it was a photo. Grainy, taken from a distance, but clear enough. Nova standing at the glass railing. Zayn standing next to her. "They already know you talk to me," she said. "That is why I need to leave. That is exactly why you should not leave alone. You do not get it." She laughed, sharp and hollow. "These are not people who send legal threats. My dad found evidence against them 3 years before I did. He tried to go to the press." She stopped. Her throat moved. "They burned his car while he was in it." The silence after that was enormous. Zayn did not fill it with words. He stood in it with her, which was maybe the more important thing. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "Don't be sorry. Be smart." She looked at him, and for the first time the armor behind her eyes cracked just slightly. "Walk away, Zane. You have a life. A real one. A company, people who need you, a future that does not involve being photographed outside a building that might blow up." "My company has a full security division," he said. 12 ex-federal agents. Encrypted servers. Safe houses. Nova stared at him. "I'm just saying that's on the table," he added. "You have a safe house. 2, technically." She made a sound that was almost a laugh. "Almost." Then she looked at the ground and her shoulders dropped slightly, like something in her was deciding whether to trust the floor or keep hovering. "If you do this," she said quietly. "If you actually try to help me. And something happens to you. Then I made that choice. You don't know what you're choosing. Neither did you when you got on a train to come to your dying friend's wedding." He met her eyes. "Seems like you made the brave call anyway." Nova looked at him for a long time. Then she showed him the rest of the texts. There were 12 more. And the last one had an address. It was the venue they had just come from. And there was a countdown timer in the message. 47 minutes. They moved fast. Zane called his head of security from the street. 2 minutes later there were 3 black SUVs rerouting toward the venue and the party was over before the last slow song. Maya thought it was a power outage. The staff played along. No one panicked. No one knew. Nova stood on the sidewalk and watched the guests filter out under gold string lights that had been quietly unplugged and felt the particular exhaustion of a person who has disrupted too many normal evenings by existing. "She smiled at me during the ceremony," Nova said quietly. "Maya. She was so happy." Zane stood next to her. He had taken off his suit jacket and looped it around her shoulders without asking because the temperature had dropped and she had her arms wrapped around herself again. "She was," he agreed. "She can't know about any of this." Nova turned to look at him. "She has enough to carry." "Agreed." Nova studied him. "You're very calm for someone who just evacuated a wedding. I've handled acquisitions that felt more chaotic. You compare everything to business." "I'm working on it." He met her eyes. "Come on. I know somewhere safe." The safe house was a penthouse on the east side of the city, minimalist and clean, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a black river. Warm lighting. A white kitchen. A couch that looked like it had never been stressed. Nova stood in the middle of the living room still in her burgundy dress and his jacket and looked around like she was trying to figure out if something was a trap. "Relax," Zane said, from the kitchen. "You want tea? I feel like you're a tea person." "I feel like that's a stereotype." "Okay. Coffee?" "Yes. Black." He made 2. She sat at the kitchen counter and watched him move through the space, easy and unhurried, like a person who has learned how to be comfortable in their own skin through significant personal effort. "You built the company from nothing," she said. It was not quite a question. "My mom cleaned offices. My dad drove buses. I wrote my first algorithm at 15 on a laptop held together with electrical tape." He set the coffee in front of her. Success is a really clean word for what that actually looked like. Nova wrapped both hands around the mug. "The people who work for you. Do they know who you are?" "Actually? Some of them." He sat across from her. "Marcus does. My assistant. Maybe 3 other people. And the rest see the Forbes version. The Forbes version pays their salaries." Nova nodded slowly. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her whole face changed. "What?" Zane said. She turned the phone around. The message was from a contact saved as Dr. It said, "I told them you were at the wedding. I'm sorry. I didn't have a choice." Zane read it twice. "Who is Dr.?" Nova set the phone down very gently, like if she put it down fast she might do something she would not be able to walk back. "Daniel Reyes," she said. "My little brother." The silence in the room was the kind that presses on your ears. "He's 22, she said, voice absolutely flat. "He has a daughter. She's 18 months old. Her name is Lily. She has her mother's eyes." Nova stopped. Her jaw moved. "They found him 6 weeks ago. Told him if he didn't give them my location, they would take Lily." Zane said nothing. "So he did," Nova said. "He told them where I was going." "Nova. He told them about Maya." Her voice cracked on the name and she pressed her fingers to her eyes, fast. "He told them Maya was sick and that I would show up. Because he knows me. Because he is my brother and he knows I cannot say no to the people I love even when I should." Zane leaned forward on the counter. "Where is he now?" "He says he's in a motel in Portland. Lily is with him." She picked up the phone again. "He's asking me to come. He says he can fix this. That he has evidence, physical files, stuff my dad hid before he died." Her breath was unsteady. "He says if I come, we can end this for real." Zane was quiet for a moment. "That could be a setup." "I know. They could be using him to draw you out." "I know." She looked at him and the rawness in her face was devastating. "He's my brother, Zane." Zane sat with that. "We go together," he said. "You keep saying that word. Together?" "Yeah. I'm going to keep saying it until you stop acting surprised by it." He stood. "Give me an hour to arrange transport. We take my team. We go in prepared." Nova looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "Why are you doing this?" And he said, "Because you looked at the sky during the vows and asked it to hold something for you. And I think you have been carrying things alone for too long." She blinked. Her throat moved. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered on speaker. A man's voice, cold and exact. "Ms. Reyes. Your brother sends his love. Come to Portland alone. Or we send him something he can't recover from." The call ended. Nova stood absolutely still. And Zane realized that the choice she was about to make was going to break something in both of them. She left while he was in the next room. He had been on the phone with his security director for 4 minutes. She had used all 4 of them. No note. No text. Just her half-full coffee cup still warm on the counter and his jacket folded on the couch like an apology. Zane stood in the middle of the kitchen and felt something he had not felt in years. Actual fear. Not financial fear. Not strategic fear. The kind that lives in the chest and has teeth. He called her. Straight to voicemail. He called again. Again. Then he opened his laptop and pulled up the tracking software his team had quietly installed on every device that connected to the penthouse Wi-Fi. Her phone had pinged the network for 12 minutes. It was already moving northwest at highway speed. He grabbed his jacket off the couch. "Get me a car," he said into the phone. Now. The motel was in a town so small it had one gas station and a water tower with a faded name. A single street lamp lit the parking lot orange. Room 7 had a light on inside. Nova stood outside it in her burgundy dress and boots, wind pulling at her hair. She had stopped being cold. She had stopped feeling most things, honestly. That was the mode she went into when she needed to get something done. She knocked. Daniel opened the door. He was 22 but he looked older right now, hollowed out in a gray hoodie and dark jeans, eyes red-rimmed. A toddler was asleep on the bed behind him, a tiny shape under a white motel blanket. He started to say her name. She stepped past him, scanned the room, then turned around. "Are you alone?" "Right now, yes." His voice was rough. "Nova, I'm so. Where are the files?" He flinched. Crossed to the closet, pulled out a worn canvas backpack, and held it out. Dad's original documents. Encrypted drives too. He hid them in a storage unit in Tucson. "I got them 2 months ago." She took the bag. Her hands were steady. "They gave me 12 hours after they called you," Daniel said. "They want the files back. That's what this was always about. Proof that he gathered before they got to him." "I know." She opened the bag and looked at what was inside. "These go to the FBI field office, not the marshals. The marshals have a leak. That's how they found me in Portland in the first place." Daniel's face crumpled. "I didn't want to do it. Lily is all I have." "I know." Her voice was quieter. "I know you didn't. Are you going to forgive me?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then she crossed the room and pulled him into a hug. He made a sound against her shoulder like something breaking loose. "You protected your daughter," she whispered. "I would have done the same thing." A knock at the door. Not soft. Heavy. Official. Both of them went still. Then Zane's voice, muffled through the door. "Nova. I know you're in there. I drove 94 miles an hour to get here and my security team is currently surrounding this parking lot, so whatever is about to happen, it does not have to happen alone. Open the door." Daniel looked at her. She looked at the door. She opened it. Zane stood under the orange street lamp in his rumpled Armani shirt, sleeves rolled up, tie entirely gone, looking like a man who had made several high-speed decisions in the last 2 hours and felt entirely okay about all of them. 3 black vehicles sat at the edges of the parking lot. He looked at her. Then at the bag in her hands. "Are those the files?" he asked. "Yeah." "Good." He exhaled. "Then we end this tonight." "How?" "My legal team has contacts at the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Not the local field office. The federal one. The one that has been building a parallel case against Helion for 18 months. He held up his phone, showing her an email chain. "They want these files. They've been waiting for them." Nova stared at the phone. Then at him. "How do you have a contact at the FBI Financial Crimes Division? Helion tried to acquire my company 4 years ago. I said no. They retaliated. I had them investigated." He shrugged slightly. "It got complicated." "Zane. I know. You have been connected to this whole thing this entire time and you did not tell me. I found out tonight when my attorney ran the name cross-reference." He looked at her steady. "I am not hiding anything from you. I want you to know everything." She read his face. The city guy who builds walls. Standing in a motel parking lot in a small forgotten town, looking at her like she was the most important variable in any equation he had ever tried to solve. "Okay," she said softly. Behind her, Lily stirred on the bed and made a small sleepy sound. And then the lights in the parking lot went out. All of them. Every one. A voice from the dark said, "Put the bag down, Ms. Reyes." The dark lasted 4 seconds. Then Zane's security team activated floodlights from the SUVs and the parking lot turned white. 4 men in tactical gear stood at the edge of the light. Behind them, 2 more. All of them with earpieces and the specific stillness of people who have done this before. Nova did not move. She stood in the flooding light in her burgundy dress, canvas bag clutched to her chest, and looked at the man in the front. He was older, 50s, a clean gray suit that cost money. He looked like a board member, not muscle. That was the tell, she knew. The real ones never looked like what they were. He looked at her with zero expression. The files, he said. And you walk. Everyone walks. Your brother, the child, your friend in the hospital. All of it stops. Zane stepped forward, slightly in front of her. She moved to stand beside him instead, shoulder to shoulder. You surveilled a federal witness, Zane said. His voice was even. You threatened a minor. You made a call that is now recorded on 3 separate devices and transmitted to a federal server you do not have the clearance to touch. He held up his phone, screen lit with a live upload bar. You want to keep talking or do you want to stop while you're only facing the charges you already have? The man in the gray suit looked at the phone. Then at Zane. Then at the SUVs surrounding the lot. This is not over, he said. It's federal now, Zane replied. So yeah. It is. The man turned and walked to a waiting car. The others followed. No shots. No sirens. Just men getting into dark vehicles and driving away from something they no longer controlled. Nova breathed out. It was the longest exhale of her life. The FBI field team arrived 20 minutes later. The files were handed over in a parking lot under portable lights while Lily slept through all of it, one small fist pressed to her cheek. Daniel signed everything they needed. So did Nova. The agent in charge was a woman named Castillo, 40s, sharp eyes, a handshake like she meant it. She looked at Nova for a long moment before she spoke. You should have come to us sooner, she said. Your office had a leak, Nova said. Had, Castillo repeated. Past tense. He was arrested 6 weeks ago. She paused. We tried to reach you. Nova said nothing for a moment. I didn't know who to trust. I understand. Castillo closed her folder. With these files, the case closes within the year. Helion is done. She looked at Nova one more time. You did the right thing. All 3 years of it. She walked away. Nova stood in the parking lot and the night was very quiet around her. Zane came up beside her. He had a gas station coffee cup in each hand. He held one out. She took it. They stood there for a while, not talking, watching agents work under portable lights, watching Daniel sit on the curb with a sleeping Lily against his shoulder, watching the sky start to suggest morning at its edges. What do you do now? Zane asked. I don't know, she said honestly. I haven't been allowed to think about after for a long time. That tracks. She looked at him sideways. What? You've been surviving in present tense. He sipped his coffee. It's exhausting. Extremely. You could think about it now. The after. She was quiet. Then, I used to want to open a record shop. Before everything. Vinyl, some CDs, a corner with a turntable you could just sit at. She shook her head slightly. Ridiculous. That's not ridiculous at all. It's not exactly a growth industry. Neither was social media when I started. He looked at her. I'm just saying. Nova looked down at her coffee cup. The burgundy dress had a small tear at the hem from the drive, and her boots were dusty from the parking lot, and her hair had fully surrendered its clip hours ago. She probably looked like someone who had been through something significant. She had. I'm not going to disappear, she said quietly. I know that's probably what you're waiting for. For me to just vanish again. I wasn't waiting for anything specific. Zane. He looked at her. Thank you, she said. For not running the other way. He looked at her for a long moment. The kind of look that says something that words would make smaller. You said someone finally looked at you like you were real, he said quietly. Not a ghost. Not a lie. Just you. She nodded. I'm still looking, he said. The morning came slow and gold over the water tower with the faded name, over the one gas station, over the parking lot where a federal case was being quietly dismantled and a baby slept against her father's shoulder and two people stood with gas station coffee cups and the particular silence of people who have decided to be honest. Nova leaned her head against Zane's shoulder. He did not say anything. Neither did she. The sun came up anyway. The end.